So in the previous videos, we had worked on our dashboard, right, and our consultations. We're able to record consultations information, and we're also able to detect fractures using OpenCV, right? So in this video, we're gonna work on appointments and patients. And if you have a little bit of time, we're gonna work on rooms and stuff. And what we're gonna do a little bit later is make sure we can see the information that's recorded whenever we conduct a consultation inside our system, right? So the source code from the first part to the third video here, all of it is going to be available at the GitHub repository, and the link is in the video description, right? So let's get started. Okay, so this is where we left off in the previous video, right? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna run this and see where we left off, right? Okay. We might need to move this one a little bit to the right. But anyways, let's open we did consultation, so this is fine. So let's open patients. We're working on patients, right? So we just need to fix this one here, then proceed, right? So I'm gonna minimize this, then start working on our patients.kv file. Okay, so there it is, right? So I'm just gonna scroll up and see how everything is looking, right? So okay, we need to tap this once like this. Okay, so I'm just gonna rerun it. Okay, patience. Okay, now it's looking much better now, right? Excuse me. So what I'm gonna do, right? I'm thinking of increasing the size of this label here and this refresh button here, right? So this is going to be used to add our patients inside our database, right? So I'm gonna up this to about 40 display pixels, so that's going to be easier on the hand. Let's say you're using a touchscreen or you're using it on an iPad or a tablet or whatever, because 40 display pixels just like the standard for size for like when you are implementing touch buttons, right? So mostly you just use 40 display pixels. It makes it easier on the hand. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this and scroll downwards where we have our label. Okay, so this is set to 30 display pixels, so I'm gonna up this to 40 like this. Then our okay, we have a float layout here. We might add a button like where you just put the icon plus, but let's just make it easier on the user. So let's add a button here. So we have our custom button, right? So here we're just gonna say custom button like this. Then our custom button is going to have an icon, and our icon, let's just use plus. Then text, um, let's just say add patient, right? Let's give this a size int. I like putting our size int at the top, so I'm just gonna put it here. Size int x. We're gonna set this to none, and our width. Let's start with 125 display pixels. If it's too much, we're just gonna increase it. If it's decrease it. If it's too little, we're just gonna increase it to maybe 150 display pixels, right? So I'm just gonna run this and see how this looks. I think this is not gonna run because we have this here. So let me get rid of this. Nah, let me add on press here. And then I'm gonna say root dot add patient like this, then add parentheses here. Right. So we don't have this function yet, so we're not gonna click this button. So let's just see how the button looks. Okay, patience. This button is looking way too big, but it's fine. Let's leave it like this, right? So now that we have our add patient button, right? we're gonna do the whole thing where we can select all our patients here. So now we no longer need recent patients. So we're just gonna say patients on this label here. Then we're gonna fetch all our patients, right? So here we'll just be fetching the patients using the user ID, right? So I'm going to minimize this. Then open patients.py. Okay. So let's get rid of consultations. Pop-ups. Now we're not gonna need this one. Images, let's get rid of it also. So let's keep patients and dashboard.py, right? So on patients, right? So we have our few cards, right? And now we need to fetch our patients. So let's open dashboard.py. So we had not scheduled appointments. So we had recent patients. It's from here. So I'm going to select hold shift. Then I press here like this. Control C, open patients. Then I placed it underneath our few cards here. Right, so we're not gonna need a recent patients tab. So I'm going to get rid of this because we're going to create our own custom patients tab, right? So we're not gonna use the recent patients tab because we want to make sure that this patients tab, right, we can be able to click on it to update our patients, right? Or we might add a button. We're just gonna see what we're gonna do as we proceed, right? So here, let me select these recent patients. We can leave it like this. Let's just leave it like this. Or because we have patients here, right, where we are counting the number of patients we have in our system, right? So let's change recent patients to total patients. You can say total patients or patients in DB, right? So let's say patients underscore in underscore DB like this, right? Okay. So we need to add this inside out. So I'm going to control D, control C this and open patients.kv, scroll downwards and paste it here, right? So we're not gonna show like recent what do you call it, like medical history or something like that right here. But if you click the patients tab that we're going to create, right, you're going to have like the patients displayed on the screen. Or whenever we're gonna see it inside our custom text fields, yeah, that's what we call them. All those custom widgets we created in the previous video, right? Okay, so let's go back to patients.py. So now, right, so since we're going to have like on our patients tab, right, so we're gonna add some functionalities, right? So we need to be able to delete a patient and update it using our patients tab, right? So here we're gonna add two callbacks. So the first callback, so here let me just say table raw dot. So the first one we're just gonna call it update callback like this. Then then when I say it's equal to self dot let's just say update underscore patient, right? And we're just gonna make sure that this function is just gonna be, let's just put pass in it, right? We're not gonna do anything for now until we create our patients table, right? So you're just gonna say update patient. Then inside the function, we're just gonna say pass, right? So I'm just going to duplicate this like this. Then this one is going to be delete patient like this. So I'm going to duplicate this line also. And this one is going to be delete callback. like this, right? So this needs to take in instance, right? So I'm just gonna do this in case we click it by mistake. Then so that we won't have any problems and the system won't crash, right? So I'm just gonna do this like this, okay? So now let's work on our patients tab, right? Like this. We need to open our widgets folder, then open tables like this. So I'm gonna scroll downwards, then I'm gonna copy this one, the one on top here, the first one. Then I'm gonna paste it underneath the scheduled appointments tab, right? So I'm going to let's just put a line in between here as a separator. So I'm gonna do that here also. So that's going to be easy whenever we're looking for a certain class and everything. If you want to change something in the future, so that's why I'm doing this. Okay. Get rid of this. Okay. Scroll upwards. Select the first one here. Here we're gonna put a line of hashtags here. Then paste this. Now let's get rid of this recent part. All right. Now we need to say on underscore press, right? So here we're just gonna say root dot callback. Then we're gonna pass in self like this, right? We need to have a float layout here, and we're gonna say let's give it a size int x. So you're gonna say size int x, and we're gonna set this to none, and we're gonna give this some width, which we're gonna set to soft.height. So this is going to be a square, right? Then inside here we need to add an MD icon button like this, and it's gonna have an icon, and our icon is going to be, since we're going to be using this button to delete, so we're just gonna call it delete. I think it's it's outline or delete icon outline, I'm not sure. So let me just put this here, then we're gonna see if it's correct, right? Excuse me. Um let's say theme text color. Then this is, we're gonna set this to custom, right? Then what do we need right now? Let's just say text color. So what we can do, right? We can set this to blue, right? Since our system is just going to have a blue color, or we can set this to red or gray, right? But let's try red for now, right? So I'm just gonna say, I think it's F then 4 6s, right? So let's give this a position hint. So pause hint. The first one we're gonna say center X. So we need to put this inside curly braces, right? Okay. So center X, we're gonna set this to 0.5. So this is going to be at the center horizontally, right? Then we need to say center Y. So we need to give this a center Y, right? Position. So center Y, and we're gonna set this to 0.5 also. So it's going to be at the center horizontally. So okay. Before we go any further, um but I'm thinking of making the patients tab clickable, right? So let's say you use the system on an iPad or a tablet, right? You don't have to click the button always, right? You can just click the whole tab, then it's gonna allow you to update, right? But then if you click the delete button, you'll be able to delete, right? So let's do that. instead of putting two buttons, right? So that we can have like more space for the text. Let's say we can see the patient's gender, phone, blood type, and all that kind of stuff, right? So let's do that instead of making the adding two buttons. So let's add on press here. So this is what's gonna happen when we press our MD icon button. So here we're gonna say root dot we'll call the other one delete underscore callback, then put parentheses, then here we're gonna say root like this, right? So let's scroll downwards, right? So inside here, right, since we decided on making this clickable, we need to put a KivyMD button behavior, right? So you're just gonna say, okay, button behavior here. So now let's add our callbacks, right? So we added update underscore callback. So we're gonna say this is equal to object property, then parentheses. And inside parentheses, we're gonna say allow none. So this is to make sure that even if we don't assign a callback to this thing, right, we're not gonna get any error. The system is not gonna crash. So we're gonna say allow none is equal to true like this. So I'm gonna duplicate this, then change this to delete like this, right? So now our patients tab is ready. So let's open patients.py, then import our patients tab like this. Save it. So I'm gonna select this and paste it here. So you're gonna say self dot, then put parentheses here, right? And I think we're gonna need patients in DB, right? And it's going to be a list property, so I'm gonna add it on top here. So this is gonna come from Kivy properties, right? So let's get rid of this show part here. Okay. So let's run it. And if you messed up something, we're just gonna say it. Okay. So let's open patients. So now we have our patients displayed here, right? As you can see here, I think our information are not lined up, right? So we need to add some space on top here, right? That's gonna match up the size of our icons there. So since our headers here are only 30 display pixels in height, so we're gonna make sure that the width of this of the empty space that we're gonna put, right, it's 40 display pixels in width, right, so that it matches up and lines up correctly. So let's minimize this and navigate to patients.kv, right? So right here, I'm gonna put a empty box layout and give it a size int x of none and a width of 40 display pixels like this. So let's run it again and see how this looks now. Okay, so everything is lined up properly, right? Okay. Let's open our dashboard. I want to check something real quick. So everything is lined up perfectly in this one, but here it's a little bit off by like 10 display pixels, right? Okay, so let's minimize this. Let's open our tables.py, right? So we need to up this to 40 display pixels. Run it again. Okay, so let's open our patients. Okay, so now everything's lined up perfectly now. Okay. So now let's proceed with we can start with deleting our patients because that's the easiest thing we can do first, right? So let's minimize this open patients.py. So to delete our patients, we're gonna need an ID, right? So let's create this and say ID is equal to instance dot ID. But what we can do, right? We can make sure that we send the ID somewhere first. Then we're gonna ask the user if they want to delete something. If they say yes, that's when we're gonna take the ID from that somewhere that we're gonna send it. Then we're gonna delete the thing, right? So what we can do here is let's create a variable, right? So we're just gonna call it self dot delete patient like this, right? Then we're gonna say it's equal to instance.id, right? So we're gonna be taking the ID from our patient tab here, right? So let's create this delete patient on top here. So I'm just gonna put it underneath this self.update appointment, right? So when I say self dot then paste this, then I'm gonna say this is equal to none, right? So let's duplicate this. And the first one we're gonna change it to add patient. The second one we're gonna say it's update patient. Then we need to get rid of these two nuns here, right? Then we're just gonna put like an empty list, right? Like this. Save it. Then scroll back down, right? So here we're gonna say if we call delete patient, right? When I say self.delete, then we're gonna pass this instance.id, right? So we're gonna pass our ID. Then after doing this, we're gonna say delete underscore patient it's equal to, so we're gonna call our confirm pop-up here, right? And we're gonna give it a title. So we're gonna say delete patient dot title is equal to are you sure you want to delete this patient? So let's put a question mark here. Okay. Now we need to add our callback, right? So when I say delete patient dot callback is equal to self dot delete patient, get rid of parentheses, then say delete patient callback like this. Then when I say delete patient dot open, so this is going to open our confirm pop-up, right? Then down here, I'm gonna say define. So let me copy this, then paste it here, right? Callback, right? So this is going to take self, and I'm gonna say star args in here. Then when I say ID is equal to, so when I say our ID is equal to this, right? Because this is where we sent our ID. So when I paste this here, right? Then let me create some space. Okay. Then now we can add our try block, right? Then inside our try block, that's where we're gonna put our delete functionality in there. So let me scroll up, select this, hold shift, control C, then I'll paste it here like this. Okay. We need to get rid of this here. And let's put pass for now. So let's scroll up. I'm looking for one. Okay, so it's show patients and DB. Control C. Okay. So I'm gonna get rid of this pass here and then paste this here. Put parentheses at the end. And so and the start here. Excuse me. So now we need to say SQL is equal to. So we need to say here delete from patients where ID is equal to percentage S, like this. Then we need to say values is equal to, so let's put a list, and inside this list here, we're gonna just put an ID here, right? Then we're gonna say cursor dot execute. So we're gonna execute our SQL and our values here, right? Then we're gonna say con dot commit, like this, right? So we can say con dot close here, but since we have a finally here, right? So this finally just make sure that if there is a connection, it's just gonna close it. So whether this runs or we get an error, we are always going to close the connection no matter what, right? Even if we don't have the connection, the finally block is just gonna check if it is there. So if it's not, nothing is gonna happen since we want to have a connection there, right? So this here should allow us to delete our patients, right? So let's just run this and see if this function works. Okay, so let's open patients. Let's click our delete button here. Are you sure you want to delete this patient? Yes. Okay, so deleting our patient works, right? So now we need to work on adding our patient. Yeah, right. So this is going to be much faster because we created some custom widgets in the second video, right? So we're just gonna be pasting those and not be taking much of our time and doing all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, so let's minimize this. So what we need to do now is navigate to our widgets folder and open models.py, right? So the first model, right? Let's just say class. So let's call it create patient, right? Create patient model, like this. So this is going to inherit from our model view. So for now, let's just put pass here, right? So if we, like, let's say if you're using any other text editor, right, or IDE, right, so you're just gonna be seeing this whole thing displayed, right? So in our template, right, we already have our model views imported, right? So you don't have to worry about importing them. But if it's not imported in yours, we can just say Kivy from Kivy.ux.model view import model view, just like this, right? So if you open our tables.py, right, and scroll downwards, you can just select all of these here. Then go back to our models.py and we're just gonna press them here like this. But we're not gonna need many um callbacks, right? We're only gonna need one. So we're just gonna have a callback like this, right? So for now we don't have the KV style just yet. So let's just work on this first, right? So what we're gonna do here, right? If you look at the information that we have up top here, right? So this, excuse me, ah, this code is not going anytime sooner. So you guys just have to bear with me here. Okay. So what I was saying is, we're not gonna display the ID, right? But we're not gonna display it. We are not gonna do anything to it. So we're not gonna edit it or display it or whatever, right? So here we have a name, right? So this is going to be a text field. This one is just gonna be like a dead selector. This is going to be a spinner, and this one also is going to be a spinner. But our address, we can just make sure it's we created our text field large, right? Custom text field large. So we're gonna use that for the medical history and the address, right? But everything else is just going to be a custom widget, right? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna say define on name, right? So what this does is, like, whenever the name variable is disturbed, right? So if we send information from our patients.py file to the create patient model view, right? it's going to disturb the name variable inside that model field. And if that name variable is disturbed, this is what we're going to do afterwards, right? So here we're going to say define on name. So it's going to take in self, take in instance, and the name, right? So inside here, we're going to say self dot ideas. So we're going to call the widget name, right? The custom widget name. But when we created our custom widget name, right, field inside the custom widget, we called it text input. So here we're going to say self ideas dot name. So we're going to call the widget. Then once you call the widget, we're going to say ideas text underscore input. So now we're referring to the text field inside the custom widget. So here dot text. Then we're gonna say that's equal to our name, so that whenever we click the patients tab, when we're trying to update it, we're gonna see the name already filled out inside the text field, right? Inside our model field, right? So what we need to do, right, inside this model field, right? So we just gonna create one, but we're gonna recycle it, right? So we're gonna use it to add and update. So inside there, we're gonna have a label, then we're gonna have a button, right? So here we're just gonna say self dot ideas dot let's just say model, let's call it model title. So model underscore title like this dot text is going to be so since this one is for patients, just gonna say update patient like this. So let me duplicate this. This one is going to be model button, and this one is going to be changed to update like this, right? So I'm going to copy this here, then paste it many times, right? So here we have date of birth, right? So I'm just gonna do the same here. So this is going to be DOB, right? So here it's not going to be like a custom widget. So we can get rid of the text input and its ideas, right? Like this. Okay. Then gender. What we can do here, right? We can okay. Let's open let's go to our widgets folder and open buttons.py. Right? So we have our custom dropdown here. We can get rid of this ID here. It's not important. So we're going to give this custom dropdown an ID, right? And inside that ID, we have this spinner with the ID spinner. So what we can do is we can call the custom dropdown with the ID we're gonna give it. Once we call it, then we're gonna pass it to this ID here. Okay, so let's open models.py again, right? So here, so this is going to be, so okay, this needs to be gender. Okay, like this. Then this is going to be spinner. Here we have phone. So this is just going to be like this. Email. Address. After address, we have blood type. So this is going to be a drop down also. Right. So this here needs to be dot spinner. After that we have medical history. So on medical underscore history like this. Then the last one we're just gonna say on we need to create a variable for this one. So that whenever we click something, right, the pop-up is not just gonna stay open, right? So we need to make sure that whenever we press, let's say, update or add button inside the model view, right? The model view sends the information inside the model view to a customer, to a confirm pop-up, right? But then it needs to close right there and there, right? So we don't have to, like, let's say, press OK update or OK add, then manually update it. So we need to make sure that this just happens on its own. So you're gonna say on, let's just call it close. Should we just leave it like close? Okay, let's leave it like on close, right? So this needs to be close. Then let's get rid of this whole statement here and leave self. Then you're gonna say self.dismiss. So this is just going to close our model view, right? So now that we have this, we can start working on the KV styling, right? Okay. So we called it create patient. So let me just copy it like this. Okay. So here we're just gonna say background, and we're just gonna put an empty quotes here. Then we need to say background underscore color like this. So we're just gonna make this transparent. So here it's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0 like this, right? Then what we can do, right? So what I was thinking here, right, we can just make it like, let's say, at the center, because we can make it like whenever we click it, it's just gonna take, like, let's say, a third of the right screen, right? But um I'm thinking of putting it to the right side, right? So what I'm gonna do, that, let's put an anchor layout. So anchor layout like this, right? Then I'm gonna say anchor X. So we're gonna anchor this to the right side like this. Then anchor Y. So let's anchor this to the center of the screen, right? Okay. Then inside this anchor layout, I'm going to put a box layout. And let's give it a size int. Size int X, right? And I'm gonna set this to let's say it takes up a third of our screen, right? So let's put 1/3 here. Then let's give it some padding like this. And should you make it like 100 display pixels? Let's start with 70 display pixels. And then you're gonna see from there how everything looks, right? Then inside this box layout, we're gonna put another box layout. And we're gonna give vertical orientation. And like this. We can give this some padding of 10 display pixels like this. Some spacing. So let's give it some spacing of let's say 40 display pixels. So this is going to be like let's say we're gonna have a label with an MD icon button, right? So that we can be able to close our model view, right? Then also underneath that, that's where we're gonna have our buttons, our text inputs, and errors, right? So all of the buttons and text fields, we're just gonna put them in one box layout. Then the label and the MD icon button, we're gonna put it inside one box layout. And these two box layouts, we're gonna separate them by 40 display pixels. but the other box layout is just going to maintain the 10 display pixel spacing we're using in the whole series, right? So spacing here is going to be 40 display pixels like this. So let's give this some background color. So here we're going to say canvas dot before, then color RGBA. So array parenthesis open quotes hashtag, then we're gonna put 6 Fs. So this is a white color, right? And then here let's put a rounded rectangle. So here when I say rounded rectangle and pause is going to be self.pause, then size self.size, then radius. Our radius is going to be 5,5,5,5 like this, right? Then what you need to do again, let's put a box layout like this, right? And that box layout, first let's give it a size in y of none, and let's give it a height. So let's give it a height of let's say 40 display pixels like this, right? And let's give it some spacing of 10 display pixels like this. Then inside this box layout, we're gonna put an MD label, and we're gonna give this an ID. So let's scroll downwards. So we called it model title, right? So let's copy it and paste it here. Then we're gonna give it some text, and our text is going to be add patient like this. Then let's give it some styling. So font style is going to be label draw is going to be medium. Then bold is going to be true like this. Then next to the MD label, we need to add a cursor up. Excuse me, a float layout. Then inside the float layout, we're gonna add an MD icon button. So our float layout, we're gonna say size underscore hint underscore x is going to be none, and the width is going to be self.height. So since our height is 40 display pixels, our width is going to be 40 display pixels like this. Then let's put an MD icon button here, and the icon is going to be close theme underscore text underscore color is going to be custom like this, and our text color is going to be, let's put a gray color. So here is going to be AD8A8C like this. Then we're gonna say on press we're just gonna say root dot dismiss. So this is a function already built inside a model view, right? So we're not gonna create it. So if we just say root dot dismiss, it's just gonna close our model view, right? Then last thing we need to do here, we need to give this a position yet. So inside here we're gonna say center x, and we're gonna set this to 0.5, so it's going to be at the center horizontally. And now we're gonna say center y, so that we can position it at the center vertically. like this, right? Then underneath our box layout, we need to add another box layout. So box layout here. So we're not gonna give this any size, right? So we're just gonna give it an orientation of vertical and some spacing of 10 display pixels, like this, right? So now what we need to do is start creating adding our custom widgets, right? So let's open our views folder, and we're gonna need consultations, right? So let's open consultations.kv. Okay. We're not gonna need these ones, but we're gonna need a custom text field large, right? So let's copy one here and open models.py, then paste it underneath here like this. Then let's go back to consultations.kv, right? So nah, let's go downwards. We're gonna need an error, so we're gonna need this one. So let's copy this, go back to models.py, paste it underneath here. Then I will need let's open our buttons.py. Okay, so we have it on top here, right? We have custom cancel. Okay, we have custom flat button here, right? So we're gonna need this one. So let's copy it, go back to models, paste it here. So let's give it a size into Y. And this one is going to be 40 display pixels, right? So this needs to have some text here. So our text is going to be, let's just say add, like this. And we need to give this an ID also. So what did we call it? Model button. Okay. What do we have? Okay, so let's paste it here like this. So this is going to allow us to add and update. So let's say if we're updating, the ID is going to change this to update. But if you're just adding, it's not going to do anything, right? Okay. Let's see. So we need to tap this inside. Nah, this is just fine. So how many do we have? So we need one or one, right? We'll need one. Um 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Okay. So let's just do them in order, right? Then where we need to put a custom drop down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So we need 8. We only have one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? The first one was name. So let's put get rid of this. We're not gonna need the ID. Yeah, we're gonna need the ID. So let's change the ID to name, right? And the label here, let's change it to name. And the index is going to be patient's name, like this, right? And the second one was date of birth, right? We can leave date of birth like that. So let's work on gender. So this needs to be a custom drop down. So let's open consultations.kv, right? Scroll upwards. So here we have our custom drop down, right? So I'm just gonna copy this from here to Where do we need it? To here, right? And this one is going to have a height of 35 display pixels. Okay. So let's paste this one here, right? So we need to tab it properly. So shift tab it once. Then now we need to give this a size int y. So size int y is equals to none, and our height is going to be 35 display pixels, like this. All right. So we need to change this to gender, like this, and this needs to be gender, and this needs to be select patient's gender, like this. All right. So we're not gonna need values. Yeah, we're gonna need them. So here we're just gonna say male, female, like this. Okay, this is fine. Let's scroll downwards. So what I'm gonna do here is let me get rid of buttons here. Let's split this right. Okay. So after gender we have phone, right? So this needs to be phone, patient's phone number. Excuse me. Let's get rid of the large part here. What's the next one? Email. This label here needs to be email, and this needs to be patient's email. Patient's email address, like this, right? The next we have an address, right? So we can leave this one large, right? So let's say address here. The label needs to be address 2, and this here is going to be patient's physical address, right? Like this. What's the next one? Blood type. So this needs to be a spinner, right? So let's just do medical history real quick. Medical underscore history. This needs to be medical history, and this needs to be patient's medical history. Okay. We need to, okay, let's copy this here. Select here, hold shift. Okay, paste it here. So this is going to be blood underscore type, right? Select patient's blood type. So now we need to add our blood types in here, right? So the first one here, we're just gonna have A positive, right? Then A negative. Then let's put B positive. Then A B negative, like this. Then when I have A B positive, and AB negative. Then let's put O negative, positive. Then let's put O negative here, right? So this should be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this is fine. Let's go. I wanted to check something real quick. So this needs to be inside square brackets like this. Okay. Let's get rid of this part. Um, let's navigate to our widgets folder and open textfield.py, right? So the custom text field large doesn't have a size in, right? But the custom text field has, excuse me. So let's go back to models.py, right? And let's try making sure that these large text fields they have a size in, right? So you're gonna say size underscore hint underscore y. I'm gonna set it to none, and the height. Let's say you say 50. Uh, let's try. Let's just put 70. Then we're gonna see how that looks, right? If it looks way too small, we're just gonna up it. So where's the other one? Okay, here it is. Paste this here. We might need to put an empty box layout here. So let's just put it like this. Okay. So now we need to go to patients.py, right? And we need to create a label. So here, let's put a line of hashtags here. And let's duplicate it like this. So this here, we're going to say define, let's say open underscore model, right? Open add model, right? So we can just reuse some of this code to create appointments and the stuff, right? So you're gonna say open add model, right? So it's gonna take in self. So here it's gonna say add underscore model. What did we call it? So let's paste it here and import it, right? And for now, we're just gonna say add underscore model dot open. Control D, Control C. Let's open patients.kv, right? Where did we have that button? Okay, here it is. So let's paste it here and run the system. Okay, patients. So let's see if here is our model, right? Um, we might need to reduce the padding that we have to about, let's say, 35 display pixels. Should be fine. Uh, let's see. Okay, minimize this. Open models.py, right? 35 display pixels. So might as well just shift tab this, right? And take this, move it down here like this. Or we can actually reduce this to 20. Oh yeah, let's put 25. And this should be fine for now. 70. This one is 35. 70. Okay. Scroll upwards some more. We can say this let's set it to 40 display to 40% of the screen. So let's just say 2/5, right? And let's reduce the padding to, let's say, 40 at first. So let's run it. So let's open patience, add patience, right? Okay. So our patients are looking uh, somewhat right? So okay, we need to change this to blood type. Okay, we need to fix this, and we need to make sure that this one for we didn't change this one. We're supposed to create let's put a button, right, like an MD icon button, so that we can display a date picker here, right? So this, why is this not closing? This should be closing. Okay, let's minimize and see how we can fix this. Okay, this should be on press, right? Um, this one here, let's just say, let's copy this here. Okay, from here to here, right? And let's paste it here. So let's get rid of this custom text field large. Then next to it, we need to add an MD label. So let's select this and let's paste it here. Get rid of this bold. Get rid of the width, right? And we might need to up this to 70 so that it lines up with everything else, right? So let's up it to 70. Then next to it, let me just scroll up and copy this float layout here, like this. Okay. And the icon needs to be a calendar, right? Okay. Then on press, we need to create a function which we're gonna say open underscore date underscore picker, like this. And the MD label here, right? Let's get rid of the text here and let's give it an ID. And our ID is going to be DOB, like this. And the text here is going to be D.O.B, like this, right? Let's rerun it and see how this looks. Then if it looks okay, that's where we're gonna start working on the open date picker function. Okay, let's open patience, right? So this is now looking way much better, right? So now what we need to do now is make sure that if we click this button, we're gonna select a date, and once we select it, it's going to be displayed here, right? So let's minimize this. Okay, that's fixed. Okay, let's minimize the whole thing, right? So now let's select this open date picker function here and scroll downwards. So let's just put this function here, right? So here we're gonna say um define. So let's paste this here, date picker self, right? For now, let's put pass. So our date picker, right? We're just gonna import our model date picker, right? MD model date picker. Then we need to bind an on date, okay, and on date cancel, right? So the on date cancel, it closes the date picker model, right? And the on date, okay, right? It selects the date that we have selected and chosen, right? Then we're gonna use that on date, okay, function to take the date that we've chosen and pass it on to to the MD label next to the MD icon button, right? So that's what we're gonna do. So now let's get rid of this pass here. And we're gonna say date underscore picker, and we're gonna say it's equal to MD model date. We need the model date picker. Okay, put parentheses here. Then here we're gonna say date picker dot bind, right? So what are we binding? So we're gonna say on underscore okay, and we're gonna bind this to self dot on underscore date underscore okay, like this. So I'm just gonna duplicate this line here, and this one is going to be on date cancel, like this, and this needs to be on cancel, like this, right? So underneath that, let's put our on date okay, right? So here we're gonna say define on underscore date underscore okay, right? So it's gonna take in self, then we need to take in an instance also, right? So let's just call it instance underscore date underscore picker, like this, right? So after this, right, we need to say self dot ids dot dob here, right? Dot text is equal to we need a string, right? Or for instance date picker, like this, right? Then we're gonna say dot get underscore date parentheses. Then after parentheses, we need to put square brackets and 0, like this, right? So this should get us the date that we've selected. Then after doing this, right, we need to say instance date picker dot it's close or dismiss. Should be dismiss, like this, right? So now let's create on date cancel. So here when I say define on underscore date underscore cancel, right? So this is gonna take in self also an instance underscore date picker, like this. All right. So what we just need to do here, right? We're just gonna say instance instance date picker dot dismiss, right? Like this. So this should yeah, this should dismiss, this should fix it. So let's run it and see if we can select our dates properly, right? Okay, so let's open patients, add patients. Did you put the oh, let's minimize this. Okay, so down here we need to say date picker dot open, like this. So let's run it again. Okay, patients. Okay, so we've opened our date picker. So let's press OK. So now we have our date here, right? This is fine. So this is not lined up with this one, right? Mm, okay, so we need to increase this label with the DOB by another by 10 display pixels, or we can just add some spacing here. All right, so let's minimize this. Now let's where do we have mod? Okay, we have it open here. So let's add some spacing. This needs to be 70. So let's add this to 70. So this should fix it. So now that we can be able to update, right? So now let's work on our button down here, right? So we need to say on press, right? And when I say root dot callback, right? Then we're gonna pass in root like this. So now let's navigate to patients.py, right? So right here, right, we want to say add underscore model is equal to, so let's just say self dot add underscore patient like this, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this line and paste it. Let's just paste it like this, right? Then down here I'm gonna say define open underscore update underscore model like this, right? But then we're gonna open this open update model using the patients tab, right? So we need to pass in self and instance of that patients tab, right? For now we're just gonna say pass like this. And we've already done the delete part, so let's leave it down there, right? So now that I've uh, we need to select this here, the add patient, and down here we're gonna say define add patient, and this is going to take in self and instance. Yeah, but I need instance here, right? Then let's leave it like this. Navigate back to models.py. Then select everything from here to the own name here. Right. Control C. Then come paste it here. So what I'm gonna do here, right? I'm gonna get rid of this. Get rid of the functions here. Okay, like this, right? Then get rid of this. Like this. Okay. So now we need to say so this was name. So you're gonna say name is equal to, then this is dob is equal to, then gender, then this is what phone, and email, and this needs to be address, this needs to be what, blood type, and this needs to be medical history, right? Like this. Okay. And another thing, we need to replace the cells in here with instance, right? So I'm gonna control D, control C, then select these cells here, then paste like this, right? So now we can fetch, what you call it, um fetch these IDs here inside our patients tabs, right? Then up here, right, this needs to be add model dot callback. Okay, so this should fix this error here. add patient may be started. Okay. So what we need to do here, right? We need to make sure that we're getting information from our model view, right? So let's say we press add. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna check if name is not empty, date of birth is not empty, gender is not select patient gender, phone, email, address, blood type, and medical history, right? So we need to make sure that all of this information is filled out before we try to add anything here. So what we're gonna say is if name is equal to empty or date of birth is equal to empty or gender is equal to select patient's gender or phone is equal to empty or email is equal to empty or address is equal to empty or blood type is equal to select patient's blood type or medical history is equal to empty, right? So we might leave this one, right? Let's say the patient doesn't know anything, right? So let's get rid of medical history here. But the other stuff it's very important, right? So is the medical history also. They say you are conducting what you call it a consultation, right? So let's put this here, right? So let's say all of these, right? There's one that's empty, right? So you're gonna say instance dot ids dot error dot text is going to be fill in the required fields, right? Like this. So let's put an exclamation mark here. So let's make sure that this is excuse me, this is red in color, right? So here we're gonna say instance dot ids dot error. So we need to put one equal sign here. So dot color you go to red like this, right? Then if everything is okay, yeah, so let's put else, right? So this is what's gonna happen if everything is just fine, right? So here we need to say instance dot close. So remember that variable we put, right? The one that we're gonna use to close the model view, right? Which is not the MD icon button. So now, right, we're just gonna populate it with any information, right? We can just say we can just send a just one letter in there, right? As long as it's triggered, it's gonna close the model view, right? So here we're just gonna say instance dot close. Gonna say it's equal to let's just say it's equal to close, right? So if you do this, that's then it's just right. So now that we've done this, right, we need to say self dot add patient, right? So what we're gonna do, right, to this list variable, right? We're gonna pass in all these variables here. So the first one was name, right? The second one was DOB. The third one was gender. The fourth one was phone. The fifth one was email. The sixth one was address. The seventh one was blood type. And the last one was medical history, right? So now that we've sent this to our aid patient, right? So what we need to do, right, is we need to open our pop-up model, right? So here we're gonna say add patient like this, and it's going to be our confirm pop-up. And we're gonna say add patient dot title is going to let's just say add patient with a question mark, right? Like this. Then we'll need to say add patient dot callback. When I say it's equal to add patient underscore callback like this. So control D, control C. Then when I say add patient dot open, right? So we forgot to put self here. So now that we've done this, right? So we need to let's create a variable that a function. So we're gonna call it add patient callback. That it's gonna take in self and let's just say star arcs, right? Or you can just put an underscore here. So what we need to do, right? Is let's select all of this again. Then paste it here like this. So let's get rid of this. Okay. So now what we need to do, right? Since we sent our information to this self head patient, right? So we're just gonna copy it and paste it here, right? Then let's so name was at index 0, right? So let's just copy this, then paste it, then deal with the indexes afterwards. So let's paste this here like this, okay? So now our date of birth was at index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like this. And once you're done with this, right, now we need to add this information to our database, right? So for now, right, let's just say print, right? So let me get rid of the index here, right? So I'm just gonna check if we're able to add the information. If we get the information printed inside our terminal, that's when we're gonna go like, okay, fine, let's do the whole adding the information to our database now. So let's run this again. Okay. Patients, add patients. Let's click this here. Okay. So instance.ids.gender.ids.spinner. So let's open our models, right? Where do we have gender? So first we have is.ids.spinner, right? Oh, okay. So we didn't use the custom spinner, right? So you just get rid of this here. Where do we need this again? Here. So let's get rid of it here also. Okay. So now let's do it inside our KV styling. We're not gonna need it in here. So let's go back to patients.py and remove it here. So spinner ideas, control D. Okay. So let's run it again. So this should fix it. Okay, patients. So let's click this. Okay. Fill in the required fields. Name, ASD, date of birth. Okay. Gender. We need to fix this. Phone 123. We need to make sure this is the input filter is set to int. email. Let's just put some random information. Send year. Jen, we need to fix this. We forgot to fix this. So let's just put a positive medical history, blah blah blah. Add patient. This should close, right? So let's minimize this. Minimize this. Okay, so our information was displayed inside our terminal, right? But where's this thing? Instance dot close, right? It didn't close. So let's go to models.py, right? So let's fix this and change this to blood type like this. Okay. So our on close function, right? So we didn't put it. Oh, we forgot to put it. So here we're just gonna say clause is equal to string property like this. So let's run it one more time. Okay, let's open our patients with screen. Right. So let's put some random information here. Okay. Gender. We need to fix this gender thing. I keep forgetting. Blood type. O positive. Medical history. Blah blah blah. Okay, so that worked, right? And if you do this, this will be displayed here also. So this is fine, right? So now I'm just gonna go over this model view and see. Okay, we need to get rid of this here. This box layout here. Da, 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 da. This is fine. This is fine. Okay, so we need to close this here and put this here. Okay, so that should fix it. Okay, so let's run it again. Okay, so now this is fixed, right? So now let's work on sending our information to our database now. So let's navigate back to patients.py, right? And let's get rid of this line here. So let's scroll downwards. So let's just copy this here from here to here. Then scroll back up and paste this here like this, right? So let's just have some separation here, right? So here, right, we're gonna need this. So let's just take these values up here inside our solve.add patient, right? And copy them like this. Scroll downwards and paste them inside of values here like this, right? So okay, this should be fine. So now we need to change our SQL statement here, right? So let me just minimize this. Have this create the py file, right? So I'm just gonna open it. Where do we have patients? So okay, we have user ID here, so we're gonna need this user ID, right? But everything else is just the same, right? Okay, it's fine. Go back to patients.py and right here, let's add self dot user underscore ID, right? So if we don't have it, we're just gonna make sure that we're gonna fetch it from requirements to not requirements to txt. Sorry, from session.json, right? So we're gonna fetch this user ID here, right? So let's close this. So right here, I'm just gonna copy everything from here, right? Control C. Then this statement here, right? I'm gonna change it to insert into patients, then let's put parentheses, right? And inside here, let's paste this, right? So what we can do here, right? So let's change this to triple quotes here, like this, right? Okay. So here, let's say values here, right? Parentheses. Then here, how many items do we have? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So we need to put percentage S, right? Like this and a comma. So let's copy this and paste it 8 more times. So we have 1. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So let's get rid of this comma here. So right here, right, if we run this, we should be able to add information to our patients table, right? So let's just run this and test this out. If we have an error, we're just gonna fix it. Okay, so now let's open our patient screen and add a patient. So our patients are the first one. So I'm just gonna add Tanaka. Date of birth, June 2, 2025. Gender, male. Email, ASD, blah blah blah. Address, blah blah blah. Blood type. Let's put all negative. Medical history. Let's just add some dummy data in there, right? Excuse me. So what did we? Okay, phone number. So let's add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 like this. Okay. So let's add patients. Yes. Okay. So we've successfully added our patient here, right? So now let's work on updating our patient, right? So we're just gonna update this one here down here. Then we're gonna make sure that we enter some correct numbers, like some information that's a little bit okay than these dummy information here, right? So let's minimize this. So let's scroll upwards, right? So what I'm gonna do, right? I'm just gonna copy from here up until I'm just gonna copy up until here, right? Then I'm gonna paste this here. Excuse me. So we're gonna change this to update patient callback like this. All right. Then here we're gonna need an ID. So I'm gonna copy this here, then paste it here. Then we're gonna change this to update patient like this. Okay. So this is going to be 0, and this is going to be 1, and this is going to be 2. This is going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like this, right? So we're going to change this statement in a minute, but for now, let's just leave it like this, right? Um, let's get rid of this here, and let's edit our ID at the end here. Okay. Um, so here we're gonna say update, right? So update patients, right? Get rid of this. Set. So we need to get rid of the user ID, right? Like this. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna select the commas in this statement, right? Then put some space, equal signs, then percentage S here like this, right? So we need to make this one lowercase, okay? So I'm gonna do the same for here. like this. Get rid of this parenthesis, right? Then down here, right, I'm gonna say where so we're gonna say ID is equal to percentage s, like this, right? And we're gonna change these values to where, like this, right? So let's just get you put everything in one line. Okay, like this. So let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, right. So we're just gonna put everything in one line like this, right? So this here should be able to update our patients, like our patient, the one who try to update, right? Then let's work on top here, right? So here we need to fetch our ID, right? So our ID is going to be instance dot ID, right? Because if you open our models with Python and scroll to the bottom, right? So we're going to be fetching this ID here, right? But then the rest of the information we're going to be fetching it using IDs, right? But here we're just gonna fetch it from here. So in here we're just gonna say ID is equals to instance.id. Then we need to place it at the front here, right? So it's going to be like this. Then we need to change this one. So this one is going to be update patient like this, right? And this one needs to be update patient like this. Um, Everything else should be fine, right? And this one needs to be update patient like this. Okay, so now we need to make sure that whenever we click on our patients tab, right, we're gonna fill out our information inside our create patient model, right? Then we can be able to update it, right? So we need to do that here. So let me just create some space here. So let's just take this one here and get rid of this pass here and paste it here, right? So we need to here, right? We need to call our create patient model, right? So here we're just gonna say update underscore model. And this is going to be equal to create patient model, right? So let's put parentheses here. So I'm gonna select this update model, right? Then I'm gonna paste it here. So let me just select Control D here, like this, paste it, then put dot here, right? So here, right, we need to have an ID, right? So let me duplicate the first one. So the first one here needs to be ID, and this needs to be instance.id, right? Then here, let me just get rid of these text here at the end here, um, like this, right? Let's do the same for the text inputs. Okay, right. Get rid of the IDs. And okay. So now we have the first one is we need to get rid of this one also. Okay. So now our ID is equal to instance.id name instance.name. Nah, this is fine, looking good. So now we need to add our callback so that we can link this update model to our update function, right? So here, let me type this inside. So this one needs to be callback, right? And this one is going to be self dot update. Not this one. Need update underscore patient, right? Get rid of parentheses here. Then down here when I say update model dot open like this, right? So if we click it, we should see our create patient model pop up, and the information is going to be filled out to our custom widgets, right? So let's run this and see how this works. So okay, patients. So let's click on this one. Okay, what's the problem? So patients tab has no object callback. Why do we have? So we need create patient port model, right? Okay, so let's scroll upwards, right? So this one, we need to change this update here, right? So let's select this one. Then let's replace it and put it here, right? So let's replace the previous one and put open update model, right? So let's run this again. Okay, patients. Let's click this one here. Patients tab object has no attribute callback. Patients tab has no attribute callback. Okay, so let's open tables.py and let's see. So we have update callback, right? So this one was fine. So this one needs to be update underscore callback, right? So let's run it again. So this should work now. Okay, so all our information is filled out, right? So what I'm gonna do, right? So let's leave the phone number like that, right? And replace the email with test at test.com, address, and when I say number 7, nowhere, Mars, like this. Medical history, let's say awesomeness, right? So let's try updating. Okay, this is not connected. So let's minimize this. Patients.py, right? So our callback, right, needs to open a patient here. Where do we have update patient? So we have it here, right? Update model.callback, right? It's gonna call self.update patient, right? Okay. What seems to be the problem now? Right. So where do we have update patient, right? Update patient callback. So we didn't even get a pop-up, right? So which means we are not calling this update patient here, right? Oh, we have another update patient down here, right? Oh, okay. So let's get rid of this. So let's run it again. Okay. Click on here. Address. Let's put numbers. Let's see if we can just update this. Update patients. Okay, we have an error. ID self with update patient at index 0, listing result of range. Okay, close this. So we didn't change this, right? So we need to change this to update patient, right? Because we didn't send this information, right? So this thing was trying to fetch something at index 0, right? But then the list of variables empty, right? So let's try it one more time. Then if we fix this one, we're gonna do the rest of the other ones pretty quickly, right? Because we just be recycling this code and making a few changes. So let's open patient screen and try updating this, right? So let's change the first name here. So now let's add Peter here. So let's update. Chigumanya, blah 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 blah. Date of birth, gender male, phone. Minimize this, right? So we forgot to put commas here, right? So let me select this. Okay, comma. So we need to put some space here, right? And get rid of the comma here, the one at the end. So let's run it again. Okay, let's open patience. Let's try updating it. Okay, so now we have updated successfully, right? So what we're gonna do now is we can do room stuff for appointments, right? But the thing is just gonna be the same. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna do appointments, then we're gonna do our dedication, right? So I'm going to minimize this. Then I'll start working on our appointments, right? So before we go, I just wanna check something, right? So here I'm going to open our consultations.py. Then I'm just gonna make sure that we're gonna get this user ID from our session.json so that we don't have to like use the one that we put in here manually, right? So I'm gonna get rid of this. Then open consultations.py. Then scroll this upwards. So here I'm gonna need user ID, right? So where do I have that get ID thingy? Okay, so I'm gonna need this one. Okay. Then where do you have patients.py? So I'm gonna paste this line here, right? So I'm not gonna need scheduled appointments. We already have few cards. So let me take this one and put it at the top here. Let me import this JSON file. Import JSON only, not file. We're not gonna need staff ID here. Okay. This should be fine. This should allow us to get our user ID from the session.json. So let me run it one more time. Okay. So let's open patients. Let's see if we, okay, so this is working because we are getting our information using our user ID. Okay. So now we're just gonna work on our appointments real quickly, right? So we're going to be recycling this the information and the code we're using to create our patient screen, right? And we need to fix patients, right? Okay, fine. So let's minimize this. We need patients.kv, right? So this needs to be patients like this. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna select this here, Control A, Control C, right? Then I'm gonna open my terminal, right? So what I need to do here is just press up. Then I'll put appointments here, right? Then run it. No such file or directory. Okay, so we need to say cd views. Now that we are in our views folder, then I'm gonna run the other one. Right. So inside of views folder, we should have appointments. Okay, there we have it. So I'm gonna open appointments.kv. Then I'm gonna paste everything below it. Then scroll back upwards. Get rid of this padding. Let me just get rid of this here. Okay. Scroll downwards, change this to appointments like this. Let's get rid of dashboard.kv, right? We no longer need patients.kv. We don't need dashboard.py. Let's leave patients.py for now. Let's get rid of consultations. This one we might need it. Now let's get rid of this. We don't need this one. So let's leave these here, right? Let's open init.py and let's import our appointment script, right? So this here needs to be appointments like this, and let's change this to appointments like this, right? And let's navigate to views and open our folder and open home.kv, right? So we need the appointments. So let's get rid of this button here and change this to appointments like this, right? So let's run this and see what do we have. Oh, okay, I think I know why. So let's go back to appointments.kv. So we don't have these, right? So from now I'm just gonna let me just delete them. Then I'll just control Z and see what do we need. Right, so let's open appointments. Okay, so this is login. Okay, so now we need to make sure we fix the information. But we may need of info cards, right? But then we might only need total appointments and appointments scheduled, right? So we're only gonna need 2 info cards. Then if you look at patients, right? Um we might only need total patients, right? We might not need these other 3, right? So let's just work on these real quick. Okay, so let's minimize this, right? Control Z, Control S. So we need patients to apply, right? Patients to apply, right? So right here, excuse me, we're gonna need scheduled appointments. So let's get rid of these beds here. We're not gonna need them. Then we're gonna need total appointments, right? So let's say total appointments like this, all right? And this needs to be total underscore appointments, right? And let's get rid of this one, right? So what we're gonna do here is let's give this a size in the X, right? So here I'm gonna say size underscore int underscore X, and I'm gonna set this to 0.25, right? Then I'm gonna copy it, then paste it here. Then on top here I'm gonna put an empty box layout like this. Then I'm gonna give it a size index of 0.5, right? So just gonna make sure that I'm just gonna show these two, right? And we're gonna maintain the same width, right? Because we're making sure that we're only displaying 4 on each screen, right? So now we're displaying 2, right? So those 2 needs to take up half of the space available, right? Okay, so now we have these 2 here, right? Let's go to patients dot py here, right? So we've appointments here, right? So let's get rid of we're not gonna need these 2, so let's get rid of them. And we're not gonna need birds, right? So let's duplicate this, and this one is going to be total underscore appointments, right? Then down here we don't need this one, right? And we don't need this one. So this one, right? Um, excuse me. We're only gonna need this using user ID, right? So here we need to count. As I select count all from appointments like this, right? So we're not gonna need this also. Okay. So this needs to be total appointments like this, right? And let me copy this and paste it here. Okay, so this should fix it. So let's run it. Oh, we didn't fix that one for the appointments, right? So let's leave this one here, right? And let's go to appointments.kv, right? So here we only said we need one, right? Wait. What did we do? So we fixed the wrong thing, right? That's what we did here. Okay, fine. So let me copy this. Control C, then open appointments.kv. Then I'm gonna replace everything here, right? Then open patients.py. So I'm gonna copy this few cards here, right? So I'm just gonna copy everything up until, let me just copy everything up until here. Then open appointments.py. Then I'm gonna paste it here, right? So we need to import this, and we need to import this JSON file, and we need to import this clock like this, right? Then navigate back to patients.py. So we're gonna need all of these here. Then we're gonna paste them here, right? So we need to import these and this also. Now we're not gonna need this update appointment. Nah, we're not gonna need this. So we need a update appointment, right? Okay. We don't have this one, so let's comment it out, right? Then for patients, we just need total patients, right? So we don't need these appointments here. So this needs to be total total patients like this, right? Then in our patients.kv, let's get rid of this one. Then we up this one to 0.75, right? And this one is going to be total underscore patients, right? So let's run this. I hope we didn't mess it up a lot more. Okay, so let's open appointments, right? So total appointments, we have two total appointments, right? And one scheduled appointment, right? So we need to change this to a clock. Okay, so let's open patients now. So we only have two patients, and we need to change these to total patients, right? Okay, total patients like this. And what's the icon we used for this? So let's open home. Where do we have patients? So we have account, heart, right? Control C. Then paste it here. Okay. Then open appointments, right? So here we have total appointments. And let's just put a clock here. Okay. So, okay, that's fine. So let's open appointments. Okay, good. So now we can start working on the adding appointments and updating and deleting and all that kind of stuff, right? So minimize this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of patients.kv. I'm not going to need it, right? So here I'm just going to change this to appointments like this. Then the table heads, let's open this, right? And open our dashboard. So here we have a patient, right? Doctor, date, and we should have a reason. So let's open consultation, like, okay. Uh, let's proceed like that. Okay, fine. So we need patient name, doctor, and date and time and reason, right? Okay. So what I'm gonna do is this needs to be patient. This needs to be doctor. This needs to be date. And this needs to be time. And we should have a reason. Excuse me. Reason. Then we can get rid of this one, right? So um let's say a patient, let's make it 20%. This one needs to be 20%, right? So this is, and let's make this one let's make it 40, right? So now we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, fine. It should be fine. So now what we need to do, right, is open tables.py. Then scroll upwards. So let me copy this. Then paste it here, right? So I'm gonna need a callback. So I'm gonna select these two. Then paste them here. Then scroll upwards. I'm gonna need oh, we have status also. Okay. So let me select these and place them here like this, right? So we're gonna need the status, right? So let's go back to appointments.kv here. So let's make this one 0.3, right? Then make this one 0.1. So this one is gonna take 10% of the spacing of the width, and when I change this to status like this, right? So I'm gonna select everything from here to here like this. Then open tables.py. Scroll upwards. So what we need to do is get some separation here. So I'm gonna add a line of hashtags here. Then paste this here. Then I'm gonna scroll upwards, copy this, then paste it here. So what do we call this one? This needs to be appointments tab. Control D, Control C, then paste it here. Right. So now we need to tab these inside. So this needs to be what do you call it? Root.patient. Okay. And this needs to be root.doctor, root.date, root.time, root.reason, and root.status. Like this. So I'm just gonna scroll upwards and copy this here. So let me paste it here like this. Okay. So our our appointments tab is ready, right? So now we can excuse me, open patients tab, right? Then copy everything from show patients in DB, right, down to the bottom. Then open appointments tab, then paste it. So we need to import this warning pop-up. Okay. So let's paste what we copied up there, right? And import confirm pop-up like this. So what I'm gonna do, right? I'm just gonna control delete patient and select all of the things with delete patient. Then change them to delete appointment, right? Scroll bit downwards. So I'm just gonna do it. Let's start at the top. It's going to be easier that way. So we already changed this, right? We need to uncomment this, right? So now we're gonna say show appointments in DB. Okay. We're not gonna touch this one. So we need to patients in DB. We're gonna change it to appointments in DB. Like this. All right. What else do we need to change? Okay, so this needs to be appointments, right? Okay. So we're gonna fix these in a minute. So this also needs to be appointments, right? And this needs to be appointments tab like this, right? So let's import this. So what I'm gonna do is let's open dashboard.py, right? So where do we have recent scheduled appointments? So I'm just gonna copy this, then go back to appointments.py, then paste it here. This right. Go back to dashboard.py, then select this one here. Okay. So now we should be able to see our appointments, right? So let's try uh let's go back to dashboard of KV, right? I'm just gonna copy everything from here to here. So let's run it again. Let's open appointments. We're not seeing our appointments here, right? So this should send this information to appointments in DB, right? So we need to change this part. Okay. So let's run it again. Mm, okay. So it's something that needs to be fixed. Open update model. Delete appointment. This is fine. So let's just create these two, right? We're just gonna create like using some dummy information and we can see where we can fix then. So let's put a line of hashtags here. Then we're gonna paste this. So let's put a parse. This needs to be um let's just say appointments model, right? Appointments model, control D, control C. So let's paste this here. Let's import it like this. Okay. Hmm. Okay, so let me just minimize this. So okay, appointments. So this one is misspelled, so this should be like this. So let's try running it again. Okay, so here we have our appointments, right? So let's make sure that this text here is not bold, right? Okay, so let's minimize this tables.py. So I'm just gonna control D and select all the bold lines and get rid of them, right? So that should fix it, right? Then let's go back to appointments.py, right? So before we do anything, let's just make sure that we everything here in our appointments is all good, right? Then we can worry about dealing with the models.py file, right? And do the styling, the KV styling and all that. So here add patients, right? So this should be patient, right? And this should be doctor. What do we have? What do we have? So let's open tables to apply that. Okay. Then here we have our date, and here we have time, reason, and status, right? So let's get rid of this here, like this, right? So what we can do, let's get rid of everything inside our update here, right? And just put pass this. Okay. So we're gonna fix this. So let me select name here, right? And this is going to be patient. So let's select DOB, and this is going to be doctor. So we can get rid of this now. So now let's select gender, and this is going to be date, but we need to get rid of this here because we need to check if date is empty, right? Now here, let's put time. This needs to be reason, and this needs to be status, right? So this one, right, we can just make sure that it's set to scheduled whenever we schedule it, right? So let's just get rid of it here. Now let's get rid of this. Okay. So let's select these here and let's paste them here, right? But we're gonna need staff ID and patient ID, right? So let's get rid of these two here. So I think here we don't need to save the patient's name and the doctor's name, but we can just store the ID, right? So let's open let's scroll downwards right here and open create.py. Right? So let's look for appointments. Okay, we have it here. So we're gonna need user ID, patient ID, and staff ID, right? So let me just copy this and open patients.py, right? So I don't know why I copied this, but anyways, so this here needs to be patient ID, right? So we're gonna make sure that each time we select the patient, we save that with the ID, or select the doctor, we're gonna save the ID, right? So this here needs to be patient underscore ID, control Z. I will need to say this one here needs to be self dot patient underscore ID, and this needs to be staff underscore ID, like this, right? Then this year is going to be patient and this is going to be doctor. Okay, fine. So we're not going to touch these ones at the bottom, right? So this year needs to be patient underscore ID. Then this needs to be staff underscore ID, right? So let's check with the pi again. Now we're gonna have date, time, reason, and status, right? So this year needs to be date. This one needs to be time, and this one needs to be reason, and this one needs to be status, right? So let's get rid of everything else. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we only need 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's get rid of this here. Okay. So when we'll be creating our our models.py, right? We're just gonna make sure that whenever we select the deck, right, we're gonna make sure that we fetch the ID, right, of that patient and the doctor that we're gonna select, right? Okay. So right here, we might as well not send these here, these two. Or we can send them and we just make sure that we get the patient ID before we send it to this add patient list variable, right? So that might actually be better. So here, let's get rid of this. And this needs to be 0. And this needs to be 1, right? So before we proceed and start fetching our patient's ID and our doctor's ID, right? We just need to fix these here. So here we have add patient callback, right? So this should be add appointment callback. So we're just gonna fix this and change this to appointment like this, right? And we need to do this one, this add patient. This needs to be changed to add appointment like this, right? And let's scroll downwards and see what else we can fix, right? So here we have delete appointment. Okay, so this is fine. Update model. Okay, so here we have update patient. So let's change this to update appointment. Right. So now let's okay, we need to fix this one also. Let me just do this one by one. So this needs to be appointment. So let me just scroll up and just look at everything, right? Then after we're done with this, so this also needs to be fixed. Okay, so this is fine. Appointments in DB. Okay. Okay, here we are fetching our appointments. Right. So what we need to do now, right? Okay. So here we need to fetch our patient ID and our doctor's ID, right? So what we can do, right? We can do what we did when we were creating our consultations in the previous video, right? So that we can just fetch our patient and our ID and our doctor and our IDs, and but this time we're just gonna be doing it inside our models.py. So what we need to do is open consultations. Okay, do we have it on top here? We don't. Okay, so here we have consultations, right? Excuse me. So what we need to do, right? Let's scroll downwards, right? So here we have get patient info. So we're just gonna copy this and we need to put this inside our what do you call it? Inside our models of Py file, right? So that's why we're gonna put this function here so that we can be able to fetch what we need to fetch. Okay, so let's scroll downwards. Where do we have it? Where do we have it? We should have a function to separate the patient name and the ID, right? So let me just look at it. Okay, so here we have it, right? So excuse me. So what we can do, right, after we select a patient, right, we can do this inside our models.py, right? So we're not gonna edit anything here. So we're gonna do this inside the model view, and everything is just gonna remain the same here. So that the patient is just gonna remain patient, right? And then doctor is gonna remain doctor. So we need to change this to select patient. let's put three dots like this. Then here we need to say select underscore doctor, and we're gonna put three dots here, right? Like this. Okay, so this needs to be a drop down here, and this one needs to be a drop down also, right? So let's open our models.py, right? And we can start working on our appointments model. So what we need, right? Let's open tables.py. So we're gonna need these here. So let's just copy one callback and navigate back to models.py. So I'm just gonna get rid of patients.py and consultate. Yeah, we might need it, but anyways, let's get rid of it for now. And let's get rid of dashboard.py. This one I might need it. Okay, so let's get rid of this pass here and paste everything here. So everything that we copied from our tables.py file, right? So we're gonna change this to just a callback like this, right? Excuse me. Then just gonna copy this on date of birth, right? And we might need a date picker. We are definitely gonna need it, and the time picker, right? So I'm just gonna copy everything from here to here, and I'm gonna paste it down here, right? Um, oh, yeah, let's use a date picker. We need a date picker because I was thinking just putting text input and everything. You just enter the whole time inside the text input, right? So let's just use a date picker. That'll be much better. Okay. So here we have open date picker, blah blah blah, blah blah. Okay. On name, right? So here we have name. Let's just say on patient, like this. Let's open appointments.kv, right? Where do we have our drop down? Nah, we need consultations.kv. So here we'll select patient and consultation type, right? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy that. Okay, so we need to copy this, right? And we're gonna open up models.py. So here we have appointments model, right? So we need to create this model here. So here we're just gonna put a line of hashtags, right? So that we can separate the this model that we made here, right? So instead here we're just gonna do this and call it appointments model, right? Then I'm just gonna paste this here. Then I'm gonna scroll upwards. So here we have create patient model, right? So I'm just gonna select here, hold shift, scroll downwards, down to here, right? Then just copy this. Then I'm gonna paste it here. Then right here I'm just gonna select this. So we need to tab this inside. We're gonna shift tab it once, right? So here when I say shift tab, then I'm gonna control C it. And so we need to paste this one more time also. Right. So we need to give this a size in X, right? So here we're gonna say size and we need size in Y, not X. And we're gonna set this to none, and our height, we're gonna set it to let's see, let's open consultations, right? So it's 35 display pixels. 35 display pixels. Just gonna copy this. then paste it here also, right? So if you scroll downwards, right, here we have patient, doctor, so these are drop downs, right? Then we have date here, so we need a date picker, and time, we need a time picker widget. Then we have reason and status. So what we can do, right, we can make sure that if we are adding, this one is just set to scheduled. But then if you are updating now, the text field is going to be editable, or we can just leave it like that, or we can put a drop down here. Let's just put a drop down here also, right? So I'm just gonna paste this here. Let me copy this, hold shift, then paste it here, right? This needs to be status, right? This needs to be select appointment status, values. So let's put a list here, and inside there we're just gonna have scheduled and completed, then completed, like this, right? um and this needs to be status, like this. um this needs to be select doctor, select consulting doctor, right? And this is going to be doctor, and this needs to be doctor also, like this, right? And this needs to be patient, like this. Then select patient. We're not gonna need values here, so we're gonna populate it using the pi side, right? Let's get rid of these values here also. So we're gonna fetch these. We're gonna fetch our doctors from our staff table, right? Then we're gonna fetch our patients from our patient table, right? So in between these status here, right? So let's navigate back to consultations.kb. So here we have these custom text field large, right? So we're gonna copy this one, then go back to models.py and paste it here. So let's shift tab it. So this needs to be reason, if I'm not mistaken. So this is going to be the reason for consulting a doctor, right? So let me just scroll downwards. So here we have this, and this. So right here we need a date and time, right? So these ones we can just do this the same way. So let me just scroll upwards and check out our create patients model, right? Phone, email, this one. Let me just control F and type in date, right? Okay. So I'm going to copy this from here um to here, like this. Then scroll back downwards. So we need to paste this underneath our custom large, our custom text field large, right? So we're gonna paste this twice. Let's just put it on top here. Let me just make sure that everything is just tabbed in properly. Okay, so this is fine. So this one needs to be date, like this. This MD label needs to be date also. This icon is going to be a calendar, open date picker. So we're not going to do anything to this one, right? And in the second one, we need to change this to time. Like this. The ID needs to be time. And icon, we're just going to say clock. Then this needs to be open time picker. All right. Let me just get rid of this. Okay. So now we don't have a time picker inside our model, right? So we're just gonna create it just now, right? So at first, right? So for the reason we have this is just gonna be empty, right? But the status we're gonna say select appointment status, right? So let me just copy this. Then navigate to appointments.py. So we paste. Okay, here we don't have status. So let's put it here. Okay. This is select patient, but we changed select doctor, right? So we changed it to select consulting doctor. So we're just gonna do this here like this. Okay, this is fine for now. So let's see, right? We might need to fetch these IDs from these fields here, right? But anyways, let's proceed with creating our models to Pi, right? So if we scroll downwards here, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So here we have on patient. It's fine. So we need to change this to on doctor. Then this needs to be on date. This needs to be on time. Then this one here is going to be on reason. Like this. And the last one needs to be on status. Like this. So I think we're gonna need on close, right? So underneath our status here, we need to add a variable. We're just gonna call clause, and this is going to be a string property, right? So we're just gonna pass in clause from our appointments.py. Then once we pass in clause, the model view is going to be closed, right? Then underneath our on status here, we're gonna say define on underscore close self instance and our close variable. Then here we're just gonna say self dot dismiss, right? So we need to get rid of this here. Okay. So this is fine, right? So now let's work on our time picker, right? So we're just gonna put it out. Let's put it underneath our date picker here. So you're gonna say define we call the function it's open time picker. So let's try open time underscore picker like this. So this is just going to be a lot similar to our date picker, right? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna say time picker like this, right? And this is going to be an MD time picker like this one. So we already have this imported inside our template folder, right? Then we need to say time picker dot bind. So what are we gonna bind? So you're gonna say on underscore okay. Then this is going to be self dot on underscore time underscore okay, like this. So I'm going to duplicate this. Then this needs to be on console, right? Like this. So now we need to create our own time okay and our own console, right? Before we do that, we need to make sure that our time picker opens. Right? So here we need to say time picker dot open, like this. So now let's create our on time okay function. So here we're gonna say define, and we're gonna say on time underscore okay. So it's gonna take in self, and it's gonna take in the instance time picker, like this. Then inside here we need to say self dot ids dot time dot text, like this, is equal to, we need to make this a string so that we can display it on our, excuse me, on our label. Then inside here we need to say instance underscore date picker dot time, right? So instance time picker dot time, like this. Then after doing this, we need to call our instance time picker, right? Then when I say dot dismiss, right? So now whenever we select the time, right, the time that we want, if we select okay, we select our time, then we pass it on to our time label, then we're gonna close it. So now we need to create our on time cancel function, right? So here we're gonna say define on underscore time underscore cancel, like this, and it's gonna take in self, and it's gonna take in instance time picker, like this. Then inside here we're just gonna say instance time picker dot dismiss, like this. So with this we should be able to select our time also as well as our date, right? And here we need to change this to date, not dob, like this. Okay, so let me just scroll upwards, and okay, so here we have status. Inside here we should have errors and save patterns, right? So let me just scroll upwards and copy them. Yeah, so I'm just gonna select this, hold shift. So we need to paste this here, like this, right? Okay, so it's in the right spot. Save it. So what we need to do, right? Let's just try and run this, right? But I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed, right? So let's just run it and see where we are right now. Okay, so let's open appointments. So here we have our appointments, right? We should fix this button. It should say add appointment, not add patient, right? So let's just click on it. Okay. This should be a drop down. This should say add appointment. So let's check if we can select our dates, right? So I'm just gonna press OK. Then I'm gonna do the same here. So we can select our time just fine, right? So what we need to do is just work on that add appointment button and label here, the add patient label. Then we'll make sure these are drop downs, right? So I'm just gonna minimize this. So let me just scroll downwards. Then we can start working on this. So this should be update appointment like this. Then now I'm gonna scroll up. Let me look for the label. So this should be add appointment. Like this. So now let's scroll downwards, right? So right here, right, we're saying select patient, right? So let's rerun it because it might as well just be fine, but I didn't click it to see if it's running properly, right? Okay, so let's click on appointments. And my mouse is starting to act up. I think I'm running out of power, so I'm just gonna do this for a little bit. This is not clickable. And I wonder why. Okay, so let's minimize it. Oh, okay. So we don't have any information here coming to our, excuse me, coming to our spinners, right? So we can't click them because they don't have anything to show, right? So let's just work on displaying our patients and our doctors, right? So let me just scroll downwards. So we need to fetch the patients and we need to fetch the doctors, right? So I'm just gonna put an init function here, right? So this is just going to be called the first time that the model is displayed on the screen, right? So this is what's gonna be called. Define underscore init. It's gonna take in self, and inside here we're just gonna put 2 stars, then keyword dogs. Then we're gonna say super. Then we need to pass in our keyword arguments here. Like this, right? So now we have our init function running, right? So inside here we need to say self dot get underscore patients, right? What what was that? Oh, okay, it's fine. So I'm just gonna duplicate this and paste it one more time. And this is going to be get doctors, right? Like this. But we might face one issue with this, right? Because sometimes you can do this, right, and it works, but just to make sure that everything works out, right, you just have to say clock dot schedule once. Then inside here we're gonna say self dot underscore patients. Okay, patients. I'm not gonna put parentheses here. Then we're gonna say 0.1. So let's duplicate this. And this one is going to be get doctors. Then let's get rid of this. Right. So let's put our clock. My mouse is starting to act up. We need Kivy dot clock. right? So now we're done with this, right? We need to create our get patients and get doctors variables, or we can just use one function. So let's just create one function. So you're gonna say define get underscore patients, and it's gonna take in self and time delta. So inside here, right, what we can do, right, is if you go to our consultations window, right, consultations profile, uh, all up was okay. So here we have patients, select all from patients, right? So I'm just gonna select everything from here, including total doctors. Then I'll go back to models.py, then paste everything here, right? So what we need to do, let's go back to consultations.py, and let's just copy everything from down here to here like this. Navigate back to models.py. My mouse is acting up like, so let me just create this, then I'll look for some new batteries for just real quick, right? So let me just paste this here, then I'll go look for a new pair of batteries. So let's import this. Okay, select here, hold shift. I'm gonna need total doctors, so let's get rid of this. So we need to get rid of count here, right? So it's going to be select all from stuff where user ID is our user ID, and excuse me, position is doctor, right? So let's get rid of this here, right? Get rid of this parentheses here. Let's leave them there. Let's get rid of this. Then we change this from fetch one to fetch all. Then we need to copy this. Then paste it here. And this is going to be list of doctors, right? Then let's change this to this. Okay. Then what else? What else? What else? This needs to be, is it doctor? Do we just call it doctor or what? On doctor, okay. Like this. So obviously the first one is going to be, let's just open create.py. Is it create.py? Let's look for staff table. Consultations, sales, beds, rooms, appointments, patients, staff. So the first one is the ID, right? So we're gonna need this ID, and we're gonna need the name. So the name is that index 2, right? So okay, let's go back to models.py. So this is fine, right? But the idea, this is fine. So let's just get rid of this part here. Okay, so we need to import this. This one, excuse me. So let's just run this real quick. Okay, open appointments. We haven't fixed this part yet. Okay. Self dot. Okay. So let's get rid of this. So let's run it again. Like no attribute user ID. Okay. So I'm gonna minimize this, right? So let's just reduce the size of this also. So what I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna copy that get user ID function, right? So let me just put up here. I'm gonna say user underscore ID. Let's make it mm, let's make it a string property. Ah, let's make it a numeric property. So let's import this. Oh, I need to get these batteries ASAP. Okay, like this. Now let's go to consultations.py. Um, I'm just gonna pause this video here and make sure I get myself some batteries, right? Okay, so should be back up and running, right? So what we wanted to do here, right? We wanted to get this function here so that we can fetch our user IDs, then use it to fetch the information that we want, right? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna copy this here, then navigate to models.py, then paste it. So I'm just gonna let me just paste it here, right? Import let's import our JSON. Okay. So let's get rid of this staff ID. We're not gonna need it here. What else do we need? So let's duplicate this. Then paste this one here. So this one is going to be ran first, right? Excuse me. Then we're gonna fetch our information, our user ID, then pass it on to our self.user ID. Then we're gonna get the patients and the doctors afterwards, right? So inside here, we need to say comma time delta, right? Like this. So let's run it again and see how this looks. So now we should be able to fetch our patients and our doctors from the database, right? Okay, navigate to appointments. Let's see. Okay, so we have Jane Doe and Tanaka Peter, right? Let's see if we have doctors. So we have Dr. Alice Smith inside our database, right? So let's close this. Let's just minimize the whole thing. So what we need to do now is we need to open appointments.kv. So we don't have it here. Then let me look. Okay, there it is. Scroll upwards. So this needs to be add appointment, right? So let's just run it and see if we can keep the width at 125 display pixels, or we need to up it up to like 145 or something. Okay, so we need to increase the size of this. So I'm just gonna up it to 160 or 170. Let's just put 170 to be safe. Right. Now let's navigate back to appointments.py. So what we need to do here is as you saw in our app, right? We're sending the patient's name and the user ID. So whenever we get the information here, right, we're just gonna get the patient's name and the patient ID, right? So we need to get rid of this text input here. Okay. Time, reason, status. Let's get rid of this. Okay. Our reason should be fine like this. Let's get rid of this text input and the ideas here. Okay. This is much better. So now, right, let's just navigate back to consultations.py, right? Scroll downwards. So we're gonna need this function here, right? So what we're gonna do here is I'm just gonna copy this line here. Then navigate back to appointments. So underneath our instance.close here, I'm just gonna paste this line twice. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna say patient ID and doctor ID like this. So our patient ID is gonna fetch from patient, and this is gonna fetch from doctor like this. Okay, then this here is going to be patient ID, and this here is going to be doctor ID, right? So now we should be able to add our appointments, right? So what we did here is when we fetched our patient, right? Here the patient and the ID, right? So here we're just gonna select the first part till we get this space and this sign here, right? So we're just gonna fetch the user ID here, right? Then we're gonna get the doctor ID. So that's what we're gonna send to our database, right? So now let's scroll downwards. Now we should be able to add our excuse me to add our appointments, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna run it, then try add an appointment, then see if we get any errors or anything. So if everything is working out just fine, we're just gonna do the update appointments. Okay, select patients, change row, Dr. Ali Smith, the date. So I'm just gonna press OK. Aish, I just think something is wrong with my PC, man. I was assuming it's just the mouse, but I changed my mouse that I was using. So let's just set it to maybe 10 a.m. Right? Reason let's just say blood pressure checkup. Right? Uh Scheduled. So let's add appointment. Yes, okay. So we've added our appointments, right? So this is working out just fine. So what we're gonna do now is update our appointment, right? Then see if our delete appointment is working out. So let's minimize this app and excuse me. So I'm gonna select this here up until here, right? Then get rid of the pass here inside the update appointment, then paste this here. So here I'm gonna control D this and change this to update appointment callback. Okay. Um let's see. Let's scroll back upwards. Okay, let's get rid of this space here. So all this should be fine, right? Um what we might need to do, right? So since we're storing let's see, let's look at our fetch appointments function, right? Let's scroll downwards. Let me just finish this update appointment function, right? So here, right, we're not gonna need the user ID. So let's get rid of it here. At the end here, we need to add our ID, right? So we're just gonna say ID. Then here we're gonna say ID is equal to self dot. So for now, I'm just gonna say add patient, right? Add index 0. Then I'm gonna select all of these add patients here inside this update appointment callback. Then I'm gonna I'm gonna set them to update. Let me just do everything here. This should be update patient, update appointments, right? So here I should say update appointment like this. So this should be at index 1, this at index 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this, right? So inside here, what we need to do is I'm gonna say update appointments set. We need to set our doctor is equal to percentage s, comma, then time is equal to percentage s. What do we have next? Reason is equal to percentage s. Then status. Okay, then I'm gonna say where ID is equal to percentage s, like this, right? So let me just get rid of this space. So it wasn't gonna cause problems, but let me just do this. Okay. Yeah, we should be able to change our patient also. So let me just do that. So here we can say patient is equal to percentage s, comma, like this. This should be fine. So Control D, Control C this here, right? Then paste it here. Then here we should have an ID, right? This needs to be update. Like this. Okay. You should have an ID here. And our ID should be instance.id. Like this. Okay. So we need to change this here. So this needs to be add appointment. Then let's go back upwards here. Here we have add appointment, update appointment, delete appointment. Okay, so this is fine. Now let's just take a quick look at our update function, right? Okay. There's only one way to test this out, so let's just run this. So let's try updating this. Okay, we have an error. Appointments tab is no attribute name. So let's look at our models.py. So where do we have name? Where do we have name? On time, on patient, on doctor. Appointments tab. So let's look at tables.py, right? Okay, we don't have name here. So okay, let's go back to appointments.py. Update model. Okay, here at appointments tab. So let's see what we have here. So I'm just gonna open split right like this. Let's reduce the size. Okay, so here should be patient. This should be doctor. This should be date, time, reason, and status like this. So we should get rid of these two here. Okay, so let's try and rerun it. Okay, appointments. Ugh. Okay, let's close this. Okay, models.py, right? Excuse me. So reason, okay, self.id is the patient. So let's get rid of this here. Right. Then we're gonna need it here. So let's try and rerun it. I hope we don't have any more errors here. Okay, so we've passed our information, right? Okay, let's just update. I've added a dot at the end of like the full stop, right? At the end of blood pressure checkup, right? So let's try updating. Unknown column, patient, and field list. Okay, close this. Right. So let's look at our create.py. Like here we have, where do we have appointments? Okay. Okay, I think we used the wrong guy. Appointments, we have user ID and patient ID, right? Okay, let's go again. So let's add a full stop and a dash here. So let's update unknown column, doctor ID in field list. This staff ID. It's staff ID, right? Control D, Control C this. This should work now. Okay, here we have our appointments. Let's update a full stop and let's put a dash here. Did we just delete it by mistake or something? Okay, so let's scroll upwards. Just want to check something. So let's get rid of this where part, right? So that we just fetch all the appointments, right? And another thing, okay, for now, let's just check if we are fetching all our appointments. Um, Appointments. We're still getting these two, yo. We should have three. So what I think is happening is remember before we try to update, like before we call the update appointment callback, right? So we are fetching for IDs using this here, right? But when you're updating, we're just showing the name, we're not showing the ID, right? So what I'm thinking is happening is it's just gonna take the name text, right? And it's gonna try and fetch the patient ID or the doctor ID, right? But then since we don't have the IDs to set to it, it's just gonna return like entry codes, just gonna return empty, right? So what I'm gonna try and do here is right here, I'm gonna print appointments DB here, right? So here I'm gonna say print. Then what am I printing? Appointments in DB like this. Okay, right? So let me just pull this up a bit and run it again. So let's open appointments, right? And minimize it, right? So as we can see, right, we have this so this should be the ID, right? Then this one should be, let's look at create.py. So the first one was our ID, right? The second one was our user ID. The third one was the patient ID. And the staff ID was the fourth one, right? So what I'm gonna try and do here is I'm gonna pass in our, what do you call it? Um ah our staff ID, right? So here let's put the first one was patient ID, right? Patient underscore ID. So this is going to be X at index 2. So let's put a comma here. Duplicate it. And this is going to be at index 3. And this is going to be staff ID, right? Okay. So what we need to do, we need to go to tables.py, right? Then inside here, we need to have our patient ID and our staff ID, right? Um, we need to add these two inside our models.py also. So let's paste them here, right? Then where do we have our patients? We need our own patient, right? So what we're gonna do is we need to concatenate our patient ID and our patient's name, right? So here let's put patient underscore ID like this, right? So this should be self dot patient ID. Let's minimize this. Okay, here we have our patient ID, right? So we need to do the same. Let me just select from here. So let's do the same for doctor, right? Like this. Now we need to pass these to our model view, right? From the appointments.py. So let's look for the open update model, right? So let's duplicate this ID. So the first one here is going to be, let's just control D and select the other one. So you need them at the same time. So this is patient underscore ID, right? And the second one is going to be staff underscore ID, like this. All right. So let's try and rerun it and see if we can get the information we want when we try to update our model, our appointments. Right. So let's navigate to appointments. So I'm gonna click on this one. We haven't. So appointments model is no attribute doctor underscore ID. Did you mean doctor? Okay, where do we have our models? Okay, this should be staff ID, not doctor ID, right? So where do we have it? Mm, okay, here. So let's paste this here. And let's open our table.py. So okay, this is fine. Um okay, so now we have our but we don't have any ID here displayed at the start of it, right? Same as here. So let's see if we can fix this. Okay. So we didn't pass this information to our appointments tab, right? So let's copy this table row dot id, right? And I paste it 2 times, right? So this needs to be changed to patient underscore id, right? And this needs to be staff underscore id, like this. So here we fixed it inside our open update model, right? But we didn't add the information to our appointments tab in the first place, right? So let's run it again and see if we fixed our issue. Okay, so appointments. Okay, so now we have our IDs here and here. So what I'm gonna do is gonna add an appointment, right? Um Date. Okay, schedule time. Let's say 11 a.m. Reason dental checkup. Status scheduled. So let's add this. Okay. So now I'm gonna try and update this. So let's change the time to 9 a.m. Then update. Okay, so our update function is working out just fine. So now let's try deleting this. Okay, right. So this worked, right? And this needs to be, are you sure you want to delete this appointment like this, right? So this should be delete appointment like this. Okay. So I'm gonna scroll to the top, right? And see if we have delete appointment. Okay, there we have it, right? So let's run it again. Okay, so we have our dashboard, right? Then we have appointments, consultations, patients, right? So for your homework, right? Try and do rooms and stuff, right? Yeah, you just be using the same things we did when we were creating our appointments, patients, and consultations, right? And if you want us to work on the authentication part, just let me know in the comment section, right? For now, peace.